Good morning. Welcome to the DFS Army YouTube channel. I am Razzle11, and you can find me on Twitter at Razzle11Grimes. Going to take a look at some pitching for today, Tuesday, the 27th of June. A full 15 game slate to deal with. Couple of weather spots, Baltimore again, New York Met game again, potentially in Pittsburgh and Boston as well. So gonna have to take a look at some things. There's some good hitting weather around the country. Uh, Pitching wise, we have a lot of names, so it's going to be important to trim our list, especially on a full 15 game slate. You know, we're dealing with 30 starting pitchers or 31 pitchers if we go with an opener, like it looks like San Francisco might do. Uh, so there's a lot to kind of break down. Let's get into it and try to keep this video uh, under 15 minutes, I guess. Right at the top, we have Shohei Ohtani in a matchup that is really interesting. We were all about both Cease and Detmers in this matchup last night. I am very interested in Ohtani and even Kopech down here at 8,800. Uh, the Angels are a minus 210 favorite. The game sits with an 8 total. Ohtani, obviously, always just in play. Last start, just dominated the Dodgers with 12 strikeouts. Struggled a bit against Texas in a start before that, but that's all right. The White Sox definitely are not anything like Texas or not really like Houston either, to be honest. So uh, Ohtani is certainly going to make my pool. Will he be my highest owned? I'm not really sure yet. He's definitely in the running for that spot. Um, in that same matchup, obviously, Kopech hasn't been as strong on the road, but I mean, he did struggle a little bit with the home run against the Angels. I do remember this game. He just had no idea where the ball was going. He had 10 strikeouts, but I think he had multiple balls to the backstop, over batters' heads, etc. Um, Walks have been an issue the last couple starts. Ks have come down. Uh, so the trends aren't the greatest for Kopech coming into this game, but I still have interest in his upside. Uh, Not going to be as heavy on him as I was on Dylan Cease last night, but I still think he's very viable with the upside that he offers. When things come together, he's just ridiculous, but there's just zero consistency with him in that game. Heading to Toronto, Kevin Gausman taking on his former squad. Far better at home. K numbers through the roof, walks are down, hits are down, pretty much everything across the board. Uh, his last few starts haven't been the dominant starts that we've expected. He had a rough start against the Twins, was solid against Texas, and then Miami wasn't bad, but he wasn't great either. Coming in on an extra day of rest, I like to see that once in a while when guys are struggling a little bit in comparison to, I guess, their normal performances. He is a minus 165 favorite. Game total sits at 9, which is a little higher, especially given that San Francisco might be throwing out a left-handed pitcher for the bulk and Alex Wood. Uh, as you dig into bats, you'll notice that Toronto is actually really weak against left-handed pitching, which is really surprising considering the lineup they do have. But for whatever reason, ISO numbers against left-handed pitching for Toronto are extremely low. Joe Ryan going to go with the fade here, coming off of a complete game shutout. 112 pitches. I would be looking at a fade if he's facing a number of teams, but especially Atlanta. I went with the fade on Sonny Gray last night. Gray wasn't too bad, but it still worked out. I am going to go with the fade here on Joe Ryan. Just not interested in paying 10.8K for a pitcher taking on the Braves, and he obviously has not been as strong on the road, so that kind of plays into it as well. Framber Valdez been, you know, pretty great on the road as far as allowing contact. Walks are up though quite a bit, which is a little worrisome. But we know St. Louis overall has struggled. They do have some guys that can hit left-handed pitching well, so there is a little bit of worry for me. I don't see a Vegas line. I'm not sure what is going on with that, but we'll have to dig into that later. But I mean, Fran Valdez is just so strong. I have no problem going with him. I would guess 15 game slate. I'm going to guess that I'm going to end up around 25 to 30% Framber Valdez tonight. Obviously, that can change as the day goes on. But I really like what Valdez can do. I will have some St. Louis stacks just because of the guys in the lineup that can hit left-handed pitching well. My guy, Zach Gallen, absolutely phenomenal and elite at home, taking on the team with the best record in baseball, I believe, yet. I know they've struggled a little late. I haven't looked at the standings to see. But he's under 10K. He's pitching at home where he's been dominant. Matchup is difficult. We know that. But, man, even in difficult matchups, he's been solid. I am going to be on the Zach Gallen train. It's just something that I'm going to keep doing. It may backfire tonight. But I think there are enough Ks in the Tampa Bay lineup for Zach Gallen to be a strong play at under 10K this evening. I believe he is a minus 125 favorite. The game total is just 8.5. Kershaw in Colorado. I want to have interest. He's been not so good on the road. Colorado's lineup is not that dangerous, but I was looking before I started the video. Kershaw's career numbers in Colorado. ERA of 4.82 over 26 starts. Averages about 6 strikeouts per start. His last few haven't been the greatest performances. So I do have a little hesitation in taking Kershaw in Colorado. But this Colorado lineup is so weak that I might have to get some exposure to Kershaw. But he is on the chopping block for me. You know, as I like to get my pitching pool down to about 8 guys. It'll be tough on a 15-game slate, but the goal will be to get it to 8 guys. So Kershaw is going to be right on that borderline for me. And we'll see as the day goes on. Taj Bradley has looked phenomenal so far, especially on the road. The Arizona lineup, very dangerous. You know, it's an interesting matchup between the two pitchers, but it's also interesting between the two offenses because both are obviously very potent. I like the pitching matchup for now. I will stack both sides, but the pitchers are what intrigue me. Todd Bradley has flashed some great upside. Walks can be an issue, so there is some worries. I don't envision myself going super heavy on him. Maybe a 15 to 20% type play in my pool. Bryce Elder taking on a Twins team that strikes up plenty. Hasn't been as sharp at home, but the last 2 starts have been really strong. I think I'm going to have to get some exposure to Elder as well, just because the upside. He is a minus 155 favorite over Joe Ryan in this matchup. His K numbers aren't very consistent. He doesn't have gigantic K upside per se, but I think that upside increases a decent little bit thanks to the strikeout ability of the Twins. I already talked about Kopech. Abbott, I don't think I'm going to get to Abbott today. It's been really impressive coming off a 10 strikeout performance against Colorado. I just don't know if I'm going to go with pitching in this Baltimore-Cincinnati game. There's weather involved, and I also just kind of like the offenses a little bit more. I'd probably put him right around the Kershaw mark for me. So we'll see as the day goes on. Tyler Wells been great at home as well. Home runs are an issue. It's allowed 18 of them so far. 2 earned runs or less in 5 straight starts. Good to see. Um, but like I said under Abbott, I'm just not sure that I'm going to go there. Wells is a minus 145 favorite. The game does have an 8.5 total. There's just some weather concerns, so these two are just kind of have some question marks by them right now, especially because they're above you, Darvish. I know Darvish has not been good on the road, but man, taking on this Pittsburgh squad, I like the matchup, but the form is not the greatest for you, Darvish. He is a minus 190 favorite on the road, so I think he's going to make my player pool, but he's going to be just ahead of Kershaw as somebody that I might just move out. Alcantara, not going to do it. Just done going back to him. He has to show me some consistency with his performances um, and show us why he actually is a Cy Young winner. I think Blackburn could be interesting. It's looked pretty decent at home. Some rough starts here and there, but 20 plus DK points in 2 out of the last 3. Very intriguing. Very intriguing performance against a tough Tampa Bay squad. 7,700. I think he goes a little overlooked, and he might be an interesting SP2 on the slate. Jordan Montgomery pitching at home hasn't been as strong. Taking on Houston, whose offense overall just hasn't been that great, but man, I'm gonna have to dig into some Montgomery history against Houston before I decide, and kind of see what Vegas thinks on that game with, since we didn't see a line yet. But he's certainly somebody that intrigues me, but may not be enough for me to go there. Garrett Whitlock, better at home. Been coming off a rougher start, but was solid the previous 2. I'm going to be interested. Vegas just seems to think there's going to be plenty of runs. He's just a minus 120 favorite over Alcantara and the Marlins, and the total is sitting at 9.5 right now, which means the Marlins have a pretty high team total, which I don't quite understand yet. But Ranger Suarez has looked great. 1 earned or less in 4 straight, 2 earned or less in 5 straight. Settling in pretty nicely. Did struggle against this Cubs team, but one thing to be seen, and a reason why I might be on Ranger Suarez, the Cubs and even the Cardinals against Valdez traveled back from London, yesterday, Sunday night and yesterday. A bit of a change coming back to the States. It'd be interesting to see the weather in Chicago. I have to find the wind. Looks like the wind's blowing in from right, so we might have to be on Ranger Suarez and maybe even Jameson Taillon. I don't think I can do Taillon, but Suarez is intriguing. Running out of time here. Brian Wu, guy that I'm going to definitely be on at this price against a weaker Washington squad. Looking at the going down, Gavin Williams was rough in his debut. I think he can bounce back a little bit in this matchup against Kansas City. There's plenty of K upside. Martin Perez, pitching at home where he's been phenomenal. He did struggle against Detroit earlier. There isn't a ton of K upside, but I think he's going to draw some ownership on the slate. So there we have it. If you enjoy what I bring to you, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, turn the notification bell on. If you want to join us at DFS Army, I'll put links in the description below. You can use promo code RAZ, that's R-A-Z, for 10% off, or Summer50 for 50% off your first month with us. So as always, best of luck, everybody.